Your kiss is cold and icy as death. Your embrace deep as the night. Ava's been murdered.
That's nonsense.
He wants to kill me too.
Bloody moon. Summer nights filled with horror. Young girls in search of love and adventure become the prey of a bloodthirsty killer. A dream vacation becomes a nightmare. Bloody Moon, a film you won't soon forget. Bloody Moon.
Welcome back to the Drive-In Asylum double feature. And look who we found hanging around outside the alley.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, I was in a K-hole.
K-Zone.
K-Zone.
K-hole is something completely
It
different.
was weird. There was all sorts of stuff sticking out of it. I didn't know what it was. Hey, guys.
Maybe you were in a K-hole.
I don't know. So, hello, everybody.
So, did you get beat up at your wrestling
Yeah,
match?
a little bit. But it was good. It was fun. It was hot. Very hot. I can't wait till July 9th when I'm back there, when it's even hotter. I would be wearing a sauna suit to see how long I can survive.
Hey, Sam, guess what?
What?
AC Nicholas is on the program
hey.
tonight.
Up there.
Yes, indeed. Hello, Sam.
Yeah.
Hello.
there
You
he
guys
is.
watch Zader?
We did. We had a blast so far.
Awesome.
Wonder how
I
many
wonder
people-
what I'm looking to see what everybody else thought of it.
Yeah. As I said, it's a divisive film. And I want to say one thing I didn't mention in the first segment because, like Bill said, we would have killed everybody is if I told you to take a drink anytime somebody said Don Luigi Costa.
Yeah. You'd be dead.
Yeah, because they say it like 50 times in the first hour of the movie.
When you got a name that great to work with, you say it as many times
Of course you
as
do.
you want.
Don Luigi Costa.
Don Luigi Costa.
And it's good. I'm glad you guys warned everybody that, hey, this isn't don't look at the box. Because the box
Yeah.
is the little, But I kind of dig this movie because I'm sure you guys talked about it, but I really like that it's not very unexpected the first time I saw it. And the idea of like these ancient machines and this old occult kind of still working, and the scene especially where you see the bodies kind of coming back on that closed circuit TV really like freaked me out the first time I saw it. So I saw it at the right time and place.
Not me. I hated it the first time I saw it because I rented it on VHS and it had that image on the box, and that was the movie that I wanted because I was really into finding zombie movies I hadn't seen, and I got very excited about Revenge of the Dead. It turned out to be nothing. Like,
Fucking like
Lee points out
again.
Lee points out the movie had some good lines like the priest said, "We priests don't lie. It's in our contracts."
yeah, tell us another one, Father.
Man, it's the second Gabriel Lavia movie we showed too, because he's in Inferno too. So
And he was also in Beyond the Door and Deep Red too.
yeah, and Sleepless too.
And Sleepless.
yeah.
No Hosano. Yeah,
Yeah,
He gets around.
he does.
If the work's there, you take it,
and I really like the soundtrack to this. Riz Ortolani.
Riz Ortolani.
Yeah. Probably my favorite soundtrack of all time is his Cannibal Holocaust.
Cannibal Holocaust. The
Yeah.
love theme from Cannibal Holocaust. Yeah.
Crucified Woman. It's funny because I've talked to people that I played that, like had that on mixes, and people are like, that song's really pretty. I'm like, you don't want to know what it's from.
Yeah, you don't want to know what it's from.
Yeah.
Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? Huh?
Nothing. It's great.
Everything.
Are you
Becca is a movie
suggesting
Becca does not like. The animal violence turns her off, so she does not like it.
Yeah.
I
I was just about to get out. Is that a movie that some people might not like?
Well,
Definitely.
I like movies where the music is kind of inconsistent with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like Cannibal Holocaust would be an example. The other classic example is Maurice Jarre's circus music in Le Jouissance Visage, Eyes Without a Face.
Mm-hmm.
It just creeps me out. It's like completely bizarre.
Yeah. And I think I like whenever I've seen a couple movies this week too where there was almost wasn't any music. I think it's a very Tobe Hooper-y kind of thing where he just kind of used noise and filled in that ambient space with stuff, especially in like Eaten Alive and the first Texas Chainsaw, where just like it's so jarring when sound design happens.
Yeah.
It was very claustrophobic. The sound design on those movies was very claustrophobic, and it sounded confined.
Yeah.
As opposed to like a lot of soundtracks, it opens up. You know, they want you to a sense of space. They take away the space. Yeah. Which I think is
and some of those soundtracks are kind of, you would describe it as what, industrial.
Yeah.
And I might mention, if we're going to say industrial, R.I.P. to Julie Cruz, the singer who is linked with David Lynch's stuff. And she did Industrial Symphony No. 1 that Lynch directed, that ethereal kind of music that, again, was great for Twin Peaks because it was so discordant with the stuff you were seeing.
Yeah. I saw that Lee brought up what we were talking about. Mary Lambert completely stole the ending of this movie.
Yeah, here it comes. And, you know, this movie was released, again, August 25th, 1983 in Italy. And Stephen King's Pet Sematary came out in November of 1983. And if you have Stephen King's mass market paperback book called Danse Macabre, where he talks about horror in the media, horror in comics, horror in TV, horror novels, horror movies, he has a short section where he lists like his 100 favorite horror films, and he lists Revenge of the Dead. Coincidence or not? Right? Or is it?
I mean, it's not like he would ever need to steal something.
Oh,
from
no,
somebody.
right?
Whatever. Apparently nobody cared.
Now, John said he watched House with Laughing Windows instead. That's also brilliant. That's a brilliant freaking film. Just amazing. And Jody, I love Julie Cruz. So yeah, Industrial Symphony No. 1 is always going to get a mention.
Yeah, what I like about this movie is like there's a mix of the technology, obviously, with the screens, and then also the past, and then weird like sects of Catholicism that maybe you don't know about. There's like a lot going on within this movie, but that's really what I dug about it when I saw it.
Yeah, and we were talking about how this was edited in a lot of territories, and Bill and I couldn't remember ever seeing the prologue that's set in France in 1956, because that was cut out of the U.S. version and also on the Dutch bootleg that I had. And that kind of makes the movie in a lot of ways, you know? That's an important part to see the Pupi Avati tropes in the universe. And we were talking about, Sam, how Pupi Avati does the same thing in his 3 horror movies, The Wind and The Shadows and people speaking from the shadows, and they deal with life and death. He's a serious horror director, no doubt about that.
I like the stuff that he does. There's a lot of atmospherics. You know, there's an almost, dare I say, Argento quality to a lot of the stuff in this movie, especially the way he captures the wide open spaces of that
building
villa.
at the end, that big hotel that everybody looked at. And I think the 2 creepiest scenes in this movie, and people can agree with me or disagree with me, are when Don Luigi Costa comes back to life with the video camera in the coffin. And then you see him, the hero sees him from a distance, walking along that open hallway in that unfinished building. That's just a marvelous horror moment, I think.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was very frightening, actually. I love that part where the video camera is inside the coffin and then his eyes open. I mean, you know it's going to happen, but I dig it. Yeah, I like this movie a lot. Like,
there's a slow build to that scene. That's that centerpiece scene of the film, but it's well worth the ride till you get there. But we were also talking, Sam, how I think you mentioned last week, this is like a science horror film, like Argento, with 4 Flies on Gray Velvet, the machine that could see the final image before somebody died off of somebody's retina, you know. And Cat o' Nine Tails, I was talking to Bill during the break. That's another Argento where there's some actual science there, the XYY chromosome syndrome of the killer, because there was some thought in the 70s that could be an insanity defense in the United States and England, that if you had an extra Y chromosome, you couldn't help yourself. You had an irresistible urge to violence. And it never panned out for anybody. But, Argento plays fast and loose with the science. As I said, if you had that extra Y chromosome, you would be tall and thin, have gangly arms, and a lot of acne. And I think his killer in Cat of Nine Tails, correct me if I'm wrong, is kind of short and stocky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also a milk poisoner.
Yeah, right.
The most dramatic poison milk scene I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah. So I think, people are saying Mary Lambert stole the ending. Yeah. I think Stephen King stole the ending, right? Yeah. He stole the plot.
That was the ending of the book, too.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, coincidence or not, I don't know.
She didn't make that up. But yeah, there are definitely some similarities there. Even the whole concept is just very, very Pet Sematary-ish. But I think this movie, the conspiracy angle is intriguing also. And the one thing I was confused about was, why was Alessandra dead when he went back to their house? Like, I don't know. I must have missed that the first couple times I watched this movie, and you guys reminded me. I remember the conspiracy people got her. It's like, oh yeah, so yeah, that was mean. That was uncalled for.
I think it's interesting too when you think of why is there so much conspiracy in Italian movies. Is everybody had just escaped like the years of lead, and it was like nonstop political violence and mob violence in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's like people were used to kind of things falling apart, so they were more accepting of conspiratorial things happening.
Especially with the church at the bottom of the conspiracy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, who would ever think of something like that?
Well, it makes me think when anytime the church gets involved in these movies, because whereas we may or may not have problems with the Catholic Church, we don't have a sovereign nation in the middle of our capital. Do you know what I mean? Like Vatican City, and like and it's completely different rules there, and it's like right there in the center of their world, like a whole other world within a world. So I always find that fascinating.
Steve's comment. Well,
yeah, I really dig this movie, especially that one scene at the end where you catch him walking down that rampway. It looks like he's on his way to work, like he's going to an office building or something. Like, oh, Zetter back from the grave, and the first thing he does is go back to work. That's respectable.
There's a movie in that. Today we wouldn't go back to the mall when we were zombies. We would just go back to the offices, right? Or to our job.
I don't know. Now nobody goes into the office.
Yeah,
if you're lucky.
I am lucky. Yeah.
So, anything else we want to say about Zetter, or what should we talk about? We talked about the ending. That was one thing we didn't want to give away before we went live in the first segment. So, any parting thoughts for Revenge of the Dead?
I wish I got to watch it with you guys.
I know.
I got him just in time to miss it. Andy, like
AC Nicholas.
Yes.
Any parting thoughts about Zetter?
I hope people enjoyed it. I hope we can show the house with laughing windows and arcane sorcerer someday.
Yeah.
I think we can definitely get to those. And I know that Sam is super excited about the second feature on tonight's program, which is Bloody Moon, directed by Jess Franco, one of Sam's all-time faves.
It is, and I wrote about this. If you've watched enough slashers, you probably reach the point where you say, there's no way they're going to show a bandsaw rip a woman's head off. And let me tell you something. You're about to watch it. This movie is called The Saw of Death, is its other title. And really, this is a Jess Franco movie that he kind of made for hire. It's not filled with his later, if you've experienced any Jess Franco, but a lot of his later career predilections. This one's a straighter movie, but it's also insane. Like a straight Jess Franco movie is the craziest movie any other director ever made. So it's got a boarding school. It's got a brother and sister that are maybe too close. It's got a brother that has a destroyed face. It's got disco. It's got a rock crushing a child. It's got a lot of shit in it. It's real wacky. The trailer that Bill put on, I was excited, and then I saw the trailer again with the disco part and the voiceover and stuff, and super excited. So yeah,
maybe we could play a drinking game here, which is drink every time you see some trope that they try to make the movie like very commercial, like the wardrobe and the goofy stuff. You'll see the one club in there, and I hope I'm not giving this away. It says Disco Club on the sign.
I love that they told Jess Franco that Pink Floyd was going to do the soundtrack. To this movie. Like, in what world?
Really?
In what world would that happen? Like, and he was
no
like,
world.
"Yeah, okay, great, yeah, okay, that sounds awesome."
It was their devotion to obscure cinema.
It was. They're like, we didn't get
obviously.
to do that 24-hour long Dune movie, but we can do this 90-minute Jess Franco movie.
Yeah.
Plus, this was like 87.
Yeah.
What year?
Yeah, it's a late
This is
year.
like 87.
It's late year
actually,
slasher.
yeah. But it got released here a little later. Seven referred to it as a cavalcade of depravity, so maybe that's probably right on. I mean, wake the kids up, bring them out.
What did you say last week, Sam? This was one of the rare films on the UK Video Nasty list that somebody got prosecuted for, and the conviction stuck.
Literally, Jess Franco has more movies on that list than any. I think he and Fulci are real close. He may have one or two more than Fulci on the overall list, and it's just like wow, but definitely, it earns it. All of his movies that are on the list, like there's some where you're like, yeah, that movie's not really that bad. This one that bad. Yeah.
This one is that bad.
Yeah.
I was trying to place it in Pink Floyd's timeline. If it was 81, that would have been just a couple years after The Wall.
Yeah.
But weren't they having all sorts of problems with Roger Waters by that point? Like I think they had split after the tour. So Pink Floyd couldn't have done this film.
I was just reading that crazy Pink Floyd story that when Pink Floyd was recording Shine On You Crazy Diamond, Syd Barrett just somehow walked into the studio, which is the most bullshit story ever. Like, of course. Why would he walk in during? And nobody recognized him because he was bald and fat. Really? But anyway, it's a good story.
I believed it.
I have an interview coming up with Austin Chernick that did the Canon Film Guide this week, and we talked about all the Canon tall tales of Mendenheim Golan. And one of the things we talked about was like, even if these stories aren't true, like I still want to believe them. And I feel like that there's a lot of Jess Franco tall tales too. And like, even I don't want to believe that they're fake. Like I want to give into the fiction of these wild stories. So that's kind of what I like about this.
We're not going to discourage your belief here, Sam.
No. I like that he made, and that's crazy that he made this. Jess Franco made this movie. His wife doesn't appear in it, she was in every one of his late movies. Like he doesn't have any of his normal cast of characters in this movie. And he's kind of like off doing something completely different than he would do, really outside of maybe Faceless, than any other movie he would make after this. This and Faceless are like his two bids for respectability. And when you see this movie, you're like, this was a bid for respectability? Yeah, it was.
Well, and he's got West German money operating here because the lead actress is Olivia Pascal, and she was in a Cinemax After Dark staple called Vanessa, which it was a Cinemax After Dark staple for a reason. And she's actually not too terrible in this movie.
Yeah. He has, and Faceless had what? Bridget Lahaye and
Bridget Lahaye. Hey, yeah. I've never heard Bridget's last name ever pronounced by anybody.
Well,
it's Lahaie. How do you pronounce that? Lahaye?
I'm the wrong person to ask, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
One of those strange
it's got Carol Monroe and Chris Mitchum and Telly Savalas for about enough time to get him on the poster.
Yeah, 2 minutes, whatever, minute.
Who Loves You, Baby? He's in and out.
Who Loves You, Baby? But no, this is fun, Sam. I'm glad you picked this one. As I was saying, it's so different. It's diametrically different from the first film we saw tonight.
Yeah, the other one's like a movie made with craft and care, and this one's just like, let's kill stuff and film it. And
let's hurry up and get to the death scenes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which you already mentioned that you're going to see someone's head taken off with a bandsaw. Don't get too concerned because, it's really difficult to pull off an effect like that. And I don't think Jess Franco pulled it off.
Yeah.
So I don't think, but it is kind of nightmarish though. I'm not saying I don't like this movie for that reason because it goes there.
Yeah.
It wants to go there.
Well,
And that's-
and
Lena was in most-
coincidentally, Joe Bob Briggs last night had an incest film, and this is an incest film.
Yep.
spoiler alert.
You guys are,
AC.
you know, trendsetters here. Yeah,
He
it's
played
just
two of
nuts.
my
Joe
favorite
Bob-
movies last night: The Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker, and The Baby.
And the
is-
baby.
Oh,
That's
The
a double
Baby.
feature. People were really
He's
upset.
obviously copying us.
Well, a lot of people on their Twitter feed were like, "This," they did not like The Baby, and it made me.
Oh
happy.
no,
So you know what? Good. I don't.
good, exactly. They'll come watch your show.
Yeah.
But I love the way they get all bent out of shape and their noses get all bent out of shape when they see something on there that they just don't like The Baby.
Mike Justice had the best comment ever. He's like, "This movie turns off dominant women and men who are dominated by them, and that's 90% of the show's audience." Mike Justice said it, not me.
Touche.
Touche. Also, this is the third segment thing, but I'll say it. Mike Justice did a write up of the possession. I think it was the possession. He'll let me know. And I'll read it to you guys. It's my favorite thing. One of his friend's theaters. His friend's dad owned Boobs Disco, which is in another movie that we watched.
She had my shirt on.
Yeah, and he wrote this description of the movie Possession with Isabelle Adjani and Sam Neill. This one's about a weird chick who lives in Paris who divorces her husband and gives birth to a giant rubber monster who fucks her in an apartment. That's his description of the movie. And that ran in the paper. So well done, Mike.
Well done.
In an
exactly.
abandoned apartment.
I was mostly
Well,
hoping by the
abandoned
fact that
apartment.
Mike Justice had seen Possession or any movie that I've seen. So thank you.
Well, he captured the flavor of possession.
He did.
That's all that needs to be said. That's the
Yeah.
best summary I could ever hope to read.
Yeah. and-
Although I didn't realize that she had given birth to it. I had to ask him about that. I'm like, did she give birth to that thing? Because I didn't remember that. There's a part where she freaks out in the tunnel with the groceries, but she's not giving birth, is she?
I'm
I
going to
don't
film
know.
a reenactment of me doing the groceries in the tunnel. That's going to be what I'm going to
Oh, that's me every time I go to the grocery store.
do. Yeah. Yeah. Just going nuts. Also, Lena Romay was in at least 80 Jess Franco movies that I've seen, and directed a few of them, or she put her name on them, or she wrote parts of them. From Naked Vampire on, she's in a ton of his stuff. She became his.
Yeah, there must be something about being a director, like being a rock star, because I mean, look at Jess Franco. Should Jess Franco have Soledad Miranda and Lena Romay and Bridget LaHaye? Should he?
Yeah. Well,
In what universe did this happen?
yeah.
Art.
But I think I'd like to think that he has a good sense of humor. And
I know he probably did.
I mean, how did I get my wife? It was complete. It was all personality. It was not looks.
Yeah.
So that's how I did.
He probably did.
So
I don't ever remember seeing this movie released. And by the way, there are no ads. There's nothing to look at. So sorry.
Sorry.
You
You know what? This movie totally could have played in America during the slasher boom, though. I don't.
It could have. Why didn't it?
It's a good question.
For sure.
Worse things than this played during the slasher era.
I mean, is
I
this
would
better
say.
than Offerings? I would say 100% better than Offerings. So
It's better than Final Exam.
Oh,
It is.
yeah.
yeah,
That's one of my least favorite slashers from 1981.
yeah, and this
coming
thing
in
has
our-
been brought
in our
over by
next issue of-
82.
It's better
Our
than
next
Don't
issue
Go
of
in the
Drive-In
Woods.
Asylum is
I
our
like
next
Don't
issue
Go
of
in the
Drive-In
Woods.
Asylum is totally devoted to 1981.
Yeah.
It's the 1981 yearbook.
Oh yes. I'm so excited about it.
Me too. In fact,
Uh-oh.
I'm
Drink
so
time.
excited. I promise I'm going to get back to work on it.
Me too. I like had a good rush of work on it, and then I was like, I got tired.
Dustin should make the fake ads and send them to Bill, and then Bill will have something to show on the program. It looks like it's drink time, and I'm very happy about that.
It is. I'm hooking back up the
Thirsty.
camera. Hold on 1 second. The USB camera. Here we go. There we go. Better cameras up. Let's do drinks. Let me get the recipe up. Doop, doop, doop. This is called the Disco Buzzsaw. Let me get some stuff out of the fridge.
That is the limit.
That is the limit. I need orange juice. Need ice. Nice. Goldschlager. And that's it. All right, we'll do this. Nice. Oh,
The
no.
second drink is just a shot of Goldschlager.
Yeah. We just got an ounce though. All right. Let's make a drink. We're going to start with 2 ounces of orange juice. I am thirsty for this drink too. 2 ounces of orange juice. 1 ounce of Chambord. Or a raspberry cocktail if you don't have Chambord, which I know is hard to find. I'm almost out. This holy hand grenade's almost low.
Holy hand grenade bag.
I'm just building my own drink because I don't have any of these ingredients.
Oh, okay.
And my cocktail shaker's out of commission.
We're doing an ounce.
I just realized it's full of water and we're on the air.
An ounce of whiskey. Steve, thanks for posting the recipe up in the credits. I appreciate it. We're doing a half an ounce of Goldschlager. And we're going to do finally 2 ounces of Perrier. Can't wait to shake that up. See how that goes.
Where was the gay character in Final Exam? Vince, I don't remember one. Are you saying there should have been one? Because I agree.
And finally, the last thing is we're going to do half an ounce of lemon juice. And half an ounce of simple syrup. And then this drink gets shaken up.
This is always the moment of truth.
The shaken?
Will he or won't he drop the shaker?
Well, I have promised my wife I will never drop another one.
Yeah, but you can't make promises like that for real. I mean, if you didn't intend to do it.
My dad said I'll never die, nothing bad will happen. So that's what he told me. All right, here we go.
Cha-cha, cha-cha-cha-cha.
All right. Saved it at the last second.
That could have been bad.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, you're falling behind.
I'm here.
Okay, so sorry, I pulled the overlay up too soon. See, when I make Sam the only image during the overlay, this is what happens.
I made all the windows. I was trying to get all of them. All right. That's it. Well, here's the bloody moon.
All right.
Pazuzu.
Cheers.
Pazuzu.
Pazuzu to all of you. Sam, you're lucky Paul Stanley didn't stop over your house this week, or you wouldn't have had any orange juice.
I bought orange juice and pineapple juice just for these recipes this week. So
That's really good, Sam.
thank you.
I am so excited that AC Nicholas is on the show with us tonight. AC Nicholas, you were with us at the drive-in.
You are too
at the
kind.
Monsterama.
Yes, indeed.
That was a great time, wasn't it?
Yeah, I managed to get a good T-shirt there too for the second segment.
Ooh, oh yeah, check that out.
There you go.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh. Switching cameras again.
What's happening here?
Every time I move my computer, the camera switches.
This drink's gonna knock me back there, guys.
Yeah, it's
Third segment. Who knows what'll happen?
exactly. It's powerful.
Just make sure you come back.
Oh, I will.
It's like a torture test sometimes for people, for guests. They're like, hey, it's 3 a.m. We're like, yeah, I know. This is what we do.
Yeah.
It's time for me to watch a Tubi exclusive at 3 a.m. That's the time.
That's how hardcore we are. We don't
Yes,
think about what
yes.
time it is.
You guys are hardcore.
Yeah.
So Bloody Moon, tell us some more about this movie, Sam.
Well, it's got like a boarding school. It's got a whole bunch of victims potentially. You got a brother and a sister. The brother's just out of a mental home. It's got some tension between them for some reason. She's driven him crazy before. She's probably going to do it again. It's the perfect setup for hijinks, slasher hijinks, as we say.
I must say, it's a boarding school that teaches these young girls Spanish. And they must be the stupidest fucking students on the face of the earth, because you'll see they will not learn any kind of Spanish.
Aren't they in? Isn't most people in this movie Spanish?
Yeah, some of them.
It's one of those movies too where they're like, this is an American movie, and it's definitely not an American movie.
This is a Spanish-German production, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Olivia Pascal, who's in it, was the big get for them. That's the and they wanted to shoot it in Germany, but they ended up shooting it in Spain. So yeah, but just think, if you had owned this movie in the '80s, you'd be in jail right now. We could go to jail right now for showing you this movie if we were in the time of the video nasties. And then also, how did you get this technology?
We're not actually showing it,
Yeah.
So hands off.
Yeah.
It's like what Video Search of Miami used to say when they sold you the VHS bootlegs. They said, "You have asked us to search to see if this movie is available, and as proof of your search, you've asked us and paid us $20. We will send you a copy of the movie." And they somehow thought that was like not a copyright violation. Well, they always quoted Sam and Bill. Do you remember in their catalogs, they always used to say stuff about, "We only sell in accordance with the Berne Convention." And I have looked for years on that. And supposedly that's the International Convention on Copyright Law. And Video Search of Miami had said that if a movie is not distributed in the United States or distributed in a different form, then it's in the public domain and they're not violating any international copyright for those foreign films. And then they would, send you German scat porn or Japanese pink films. And, their catalogs to me were always amazing.
Yeah, I think it's funny that like what rules people go by for it. My favorite thing is when you get a real DVD and the copyright warning comes up at the beginning of it, and it's obviously been bootlegged numerous times, and it looks like the copyright warning is from like the 70s, and it's so beaten up.
Yeah.
That, and I love the old 90s video that has the crack house font that says, you wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't steal this. Like, why are you stealing a movie? And you're like, chill out, guys. I'm just watching this DVD.
Yeah.
Like, let's not talk about piracy.
Speaking of Jess Franco, Sam, one of the movies at this year's Super Drive-In Monsterama is Jess Franco's Count Dracula, starring Christopher Lee.
I love the Christopher Lee. Every time he was in a Jess Franco movie, he'd be like, well, they got one over on me. I turned around and there was all sorts of things going on behind me. Count Dracula is not one of those movies, but he made that after numerous times that supposedly he got fooled by Jess Franco. It's like, he made like 4 more movies with him after this time that he really got one over on you. Like, let's just chill out.
I like Count Dracula, although, it's the typical Jess Franco movie. It's got just moments of sheer brilliance coupled with moments of sheer stupidity.
There's times where you're like, have you ever seen a movie before, Jess Franco? Like, do you know how a movie works? Like, there's times like in The Girl from Rio where there's like a sunset that takes like literally like it's in real time. It's like 4 minutes of just looking at the sun.
Yeah. And
it's like, what is going on? And then there's other movies where you're like Venus and Furs, which is near perfect. And it's wonderful. You're like, how did you make these?
Well, what was going on there then? Why were those? Why were his films so
because
erratic?
He's nuts.
Yeah, exactly. It's nuts.
That's an answer.
My theory is he's like an artist, and sometimes he's just thinking about the next thing he has to do. And today we would do digital coverage, and there's a way of stretching shots and getting stuff. And I think sometimes he'd put these movies together, and he'd have like Yeah, like Steve said, padding for time. He'd have like a 67-minute movie, and he'd need to have it at 80. And he's like, well, when we have that beautiful sunset, we can have people talking over that sunset. There's a lot of that, and then there's a lot of like zooms into stuff and zooms out, and it's like, you know,
cranes up roofs up into the sky that last forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's 99 Women's good. There's the ones that are really good. Bloody Moon, I would include, are really good, and the ones that are bad, you just have to like. I wouldn't like enter into the post like 85, 89 Jess Franco world without ever seeing his other movies. You know what I mean? I always call these movie drugs, right? And it's like you wouldn't take black tar heroin first. You would let multiple gateway drugs lead you to the really rough drugs. In the same way that and Jess Franco stuff, like Al Piero versus the Alligator Women, and what do you call Muto Cookie, the one that's like about a Spider Woman who has Lena Romay's head on a spider puppet. These movies aren't for the faint of heart. I don't think they're bad, but also I think I think they're good, so that should give you a real warning of what I think what they are. And yeah, and I agree. If you like Jess Franco and you like Electric Wizard, you're gonna be like, oh wow, that's a Jess Franco, that's an Electric Wizard lyric. Yeah, that happens a lot in Jess Franco movies. They're very much in his kind of world and do a lot of drugs too. So that's I think that's what I like, especially the song in Venus at First will get into your head so bad that it will stick in your head for days, and you'll just be like, what? Also, avoid any of the Eurocene movies that Franco did because a lot of times he didn't finish them. Like Angel of Death just went up, Full Moon put it out, and it's him and what's his name, Andrea Bonacci, who did
Burial Ground.
Andrea Bianchi.
Yeah, and Strip Nude for Your Killer. And let me tell you, you would think like the two of them together doing a movie would be amazing. It's not. It's even I can admit there's some that are just like, oh boy, this is
amazing would be the word I would say.
Yeah. The Eurocine movies with that father and son team, the Lesueurs.
Yeah.
Wow, those guys we're talking about real bottom feeders.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just really bad, and honestly, like most of the ones Franco did for them, they would take back, they'd cut in scenes from other movies. To be fair, his later movies are all shot on video, and he had absolutely no budget. He maybe have 3 actresses and 3 actors in them, and they're kind of just jammed together, and they're always shot in like hotel room, like hotel ballrooms, and like there's some ideas in them that are really good, but then there are also like a lot of the same ideas that get recycled. I would say his later movies, the 2 Killer Barbies movies are really good. Killer Barbies versus Dracula is actually, it's really fun. It's almost like a Scooby-Doo movie, but Jess Franco made it.
Actually, now that I think about it, I actually did like one of the Eurocine Francos, which was The Sadist of Notre Dame.
Yeah, he made that movie like there's 5 different cuts of that movie.
Yeah, there's a hardcore cut, there's a closed cut. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, and it has multiple titles too, and it's weird because that's when you get kind of into your head where it's like, have I seen this? Have I not seen this? And you've seen parts of it. Same as Faceless, because Faceless is basically the first Dr. Orloff movie, just with a way better budget and way better actors in it. But on the other hand, it's like, there's a lot of directors that made the same movie over and over and over again to try to, or you're George Lucas and you just keep remaking Star Wars over and over again and putting out different versions. So
I think those were masks, Matt Bussell. Yeah. A lot of that stuff in Burial Ground. They were shambling masks. But yeah, there were some actual ghoul makeups in that movie.
That movie has one of my favorite lines of dialogue, Bill.
Which one? Mommy, there's so many to pick from.
This cloth smells like death.
There's many to choose from in Burial Ground. Like in the beginning when the professor is like causing it all, and he's like the zombies start attacking him. He's like, "Wait, I'm your friend." Like, huh?
That movie's like if Let Sleeping Corpses Lie sucked. That's my review of that movie, but I like it though. So, but it's not good. It's like, oh yeah, it kind of has that feel, but it's shitty. It's like the shittiest Blind Dead movie ever. That wasn't the one made last year, which will never be discussed. And look, yeah, Charles Band made Puppet Master 4 billion times too, and And movies with puppets in it. If you like puppets, let Charles Band talk to you.
So since we don't have any ads for Bloody Moon, I pulled some ads off the page to look at for the ad segment. This is a series I'm running right now on Groovy Doom. Most of you follow the page, I would assume. If not, I post ads like this every day in somewhat chronological order. Right now I'm in London, and I'm finding a lot of stuff in London that I was just so eager to do this series. Lana Revick from Starts Today has been posting a lot of ads from England lately. So definitely check out her pages too. She's on Insta, Twitter, Facebook. Starts Today is the name of the page. But I wanted to do a deep dive into it to find all the little things that I've been looking for all these years. And this was one of them, Burn Witch Burn, under the title
Night of the Eagle.
Night of the Eagle. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's like
excellent.
the companion piece to Curse of the Demon.
Exactly. It's excellent.
Well, anyway, there it is under its original title. So I was excited to find that. And also, you know, being such a Dracula fan when I was a kid, I had to dig this one out. It's the original presentation of Hammer's Dracula, which was called Horror of Dracula in America. But this one was just plain Dracula.
I love the way that Now logo locks up at the bottom there. It's beautiful.
Oh, everything about this is just gorgeous. This was actually a small ad that I pulled out. It was like a little postage stamp size ad. There's a larger one. I'll see if I can find it real quick.
Beautiful ad for a beautiful film.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. This was one of the first movies that I was really scared when I watched it. That whole chase sequence at the end was just so, and there was the gruesome dissolving of his face and everything. That movie just changed my life, really.
It's funny. I had one of those hardback horror books from the 70s. Around that time, they had a picture from one of the Hammer Frankensteins with like a two-headed, like pickled punk. And it upset me so much as a kid, I wouldn't watch the movie. And it's such a minor part of the movie. It's just so frightening. His lab was so scary. Wow. So
there's the actual full ad for Dracula. Peter Cushing is above the title.
Yeah.
With Christopher Lee.
Peter Cushing was a very popular BBC TV star at the time. He had done a TV version of 1984, and he was better known than Christopher Lee.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great tagline, too. Wow.
Wow.
So here's another one I dug up.
Yeah.
This is just gorgeous in so many ways.
That's a great double feature, too.
I'm not even crazy about that version of Phantom of the Opera.
No.
But
I am crazy about Captain Clegg, though, so I love this ad.
One of Peter Cushing's best performances, I think, if you folks haven't seen Captain Clegg. Night Creatures.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the funny story about this movie is when it was when it was released in America, it was given the title Night Creatures, even though it's not really a horror movie, despite what you're actually seeing here.
It's almost the same movie as Dr. Sin, alias the Scarecrow.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very similar.
It's actually a pirate film.
Yeah.
But Hammer had already promised the American distributors a movie called Night Creatures. They were going to make a film version of Richard Matheson's I Am Legend. And it just fizzled, like in production. It died in pre-production, and they just slapped that title onto this movie and gave it to the American market, which I think that's, funnier than anything in the movie itself. So that's and plus, like, it's a gorgeous ad design. Like, I would go see that movie no matter what. Here's another odd one that I found. The roots of Last House on the Left is Ingmar Bergman's The Virgin Spring. When it first appeared in the UK, it was like probably even a year before. This is from 1962. It actually showed in the UK at the end of 1961, and it just got little mentions in the Evening Standard. They didn't actually run an ad until much later when it came back. It was still playing like through early 1962. Here's another strange one. This double feature of Gorgo and
Whoa.
Terror in the Haunted House.
I love that skull so much.
Oh, it's a drive-in asylum skull.
Oh, I know.
It is. At the end of everyone's article, you get a skull.
Yep.
And this is one of the ones that I cut out and used for that. That movie is crazy. Terror in the Haunted House.
I've never seen it.
Are you guys into that?
I've never seen it.
It's this mystery about a woman who gets amnesia and then she gets married. You know, that totally shouldn't be able to happen, probably, but whatever. And she keeps having nightmares of this house where horrible things happen to her. And then her husband takes her to her new home, and it's that house. She's like, and there's things, yes. And it, you know, things start popping off. And it's really kind of stupid when all is said and done. But there's this gimmick that they use for it, where there were all these subliminal skulls.
Oh.
And like the words. Yeah, it's like subliminal, you know, exorcist level stuff. And one of the directives is a title card that says "Scream Bloody Murder."
One point here, notice all horror movies got certificate X, even Gorgo.
Yeah, it didn't matter. That was like the British rated R.
Yeah, everything got an X.
It didn't matter what it was. If there were horror themes, that's just what you dealt with. I think it was like 16. You couldn't go to see it if you were 16 or under, and you had to have a parent with you. Gorgo, I mean, come on.
Is that the cut of Gorgo where you can see his ween?
Gorgo's a she.
Oh, well.
Thank you.
See?
That's right, Gorgo's a mom.
Sorry, everybody, that I misgendered Gorgo. I apologize.
You did. Well, actually, no, I don't know what Gorgo is. The small one. Because remember, that's the one
right.
where they find
Small
the giant
one,
lizard
Gorgo.
and then the mother shows up later. That's the she I was thinking of. But anyway, so those are ads from my latest series from London. Go check out the Facebook page if you aren't following it already. What about this second feature, guys? Bloody Moon. Should we get to it?
Absolutely. The disco party is about to begin.
Has anybody not seen it before in the chat? Let me know. I would be interested to see who hasn't seen it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people mentioned that they hadn't seen it. And Lee said she had seen it, but then she asked about whether she had it mixed up with another movie. So maybe this will be not the movie.
When you see it, you'll be like, oh, I definitely saw it. First, did or didn't see it. So it's very memorable.
Oh, there we go. Darren, Tracy, Dan,
Good.
Sean, Eldon. So there are some Bloody Moon virgins in the chat.
Good.
So I need to get you the magic mirror from Romper Room.
Romper Room.
Yeah, I see Eldon. He hasn't seen it.
It's implied.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So come back after the movie, and we'll be here to talk you through your therapy after watching Bloody Moon. AC Nicholas will be back with us, and Sam Panico and me. Come back. Third segment. Crazy.